I'm Jack Knight, Lodge Winters, and this is Jack Frost University. And first off, I apologize for the composure. Composure kind of sucks right now. I can't find a good bench to sit at. I'm here at Chautauqua in Boulder, Colorado, one of my favorite places because of the nature. It's got all kinds of flowers. It's like a flower bed. Got running water, or a babbling brook, whatever you want to call it. Just kind of give you a panorama here. So finally, the sun's starting to come out. Drinking my coffee. Got Starbucks. I got McDonald's coffee. There's only two kinds of coffee that I like: Starbucks blonde roast and McDonald's coffee. And McDonald's is only $1. So yeah, that composure kind of sucks right now. Can't do anything about it. Oh, I got this is my favorite shirt. Check that out. I love my $5 Walmart shirts. I like to show off my $5 Walmart shirts. Everyone's always complimenting me on my shirts. Nice. So, today I wanted to talk about the keys of Solomon the king, okay? So there's this character in the Old Testament of the Christian Bible that talks about King Solomon, and the narrative of the person writing this news report of King Solomon is that he's the wisest man on the earth and the wisest that ever would be. Obviously very intelligent, but what most people don't know is that he was a sorcerer. And I think this is really exciting. I feel like it's overlooked by so many people, especially in the Christian community, because it's a Christian Bible, and so we don't talk about magic. But the truth is, King Solomon was a sorcerer. He was a magician, okay, and he wrote a hell of a lot of content about it as well. So, first off, every time I bring up magic, every time I meet someone new and they see my pentacle necklace and they want to talk about magic, they always bring up the word Crowley. They just can't help it. It's like Crowley and magic go kind of hand in hand. It just never fails. Every time you bring up magic, sorcery, when I start talking about it, someone always says Crowley, and I hate that. It infuriates me that he's so associated with magic. But so I wanted to give my thoughts on Crowley. Number one, he just had a gross energy. Okay, I'll keep it real with you. Well, first off, actually, he was definitely very knowledgeable in sorcery and magic. Okay, Crowley knew his stuff. Okay, there's no doubt. This cannot be denied. If you look into Crowley, if you study Crowley, he was definitely a sorcerer. He was definitely a magician, and Crowley knew top level sorcery, high level sorcery stuff. He wasn't talking about milk for babies. He wasn't talking about elementary magic. Okay. He was talking about moon child ceremonies. He was talking about drawing down souls from the moon. He was talking about capturing or enslaving souls and shoving them into certain bloodlines by force. That's high sorcery. That's high magic. And that's not some, that's, I guess it's okay to talk about things like that. It makes me a little bit, forcing a soul, capturing a soul and placing it into a certain bloodline to be used by people is highly offensive to me. That's the highest level of offense that you can commit, because you're messing with the soul now, okay? He was a gay pedophile, okay? Most people don't know that about him. So here's the thing. So he talked about high-level sorcery, and he talked about, he was definitely a magician. He's a sorcerer, okay? He knew his stuff. He really did, okay? But he's gross, and I don't like the grossness. He's just a gross guy. For those of you who may not know, he talked a lot about child sacrifice, okay? But if you dig in deeper to the whole child sacrifice thing, he's not talking about killing kids. He's, and the truth is harmful. The truth. There's two kinds of way to deliver content. You can water it down and kind of weaken it down, and you'll attract. The more watered down your content is, the more people you're gonna attract. Um, the wider your gates are by being a little bit vague and not being so truthful. But that's not my style. I like to dig in deep and let people know what's really going on. To get people into deep. I do heavy and deep research into characters, and anyone who has done any level of heavy research into Crowley knows that when he's talking about child sacrifice, he's not talking about killing kids. He's talking about sucking off little boys. Yes, I just said that. I'm talking about sucking off little boys, okay? The sacrifice is the semen sacrifice. The child is doing the sacrificing. You're not doing a sacrifice on the child. The child is sacrificing blood. There's blood in the semen, okay? Blood sacrifice. There's blood in the semen. When you ejaculate, you're sacrificing your semen, you're sacrificing your blood. Okay, that's what Crowley's talking. Most people don't know that, and you're probably not going to hear that very often. But I've come across scholars out there who have done character studies on Crowley, and everyone knows that. Crowley was gay. He was a gay pedophile. Okay, Crowley was gay in a time when it was not acceptable to be gay. Okay, so now it's so commonplace. We're all, LGBT community and whatnot. Everyone's very tolerant of other people's religions and other people's sexual orientation. But 100 years ago, not so much. Not so much at all. Gay people were killed, straight, tortured, beaten, okay, traumatized. Crowley was gay. He was a gay pedophile. He had to speak in a way that was heavily encrypted for his own protection. And so that's where we get this child sacrifice thing. Most people don't know that. So, this isn't for like a breakfast or lunch conversation. This is something for like late night. But I had to make sure I was in it. But that's the truth. And the truth is cold. The truth is raw. It always is. If you want the truth, you got to like brace yourself for it sometimes. So there it is. But anyway, I personally don't like Crowley. I don't like his energy. You can't help but respect him because the guy spent his life studying sorcery, and I spent my life studying sorcery and magic. So I almost can't help but respect him. There's got to be a level of respect, but I wouldn't hang out with him. He's got a gross energy. I mean, you see all the pictures. There's a bunch of pictures of him up there. Gross, gross, gross. Okay. But I would read his content, so that's what I'm saying. I gotta have some respect for him. Okay. With that out of the way. By the way, Crowley wrote a book called the Book of Thoth. That infuriates me as well. Okay. You don't write a Book of Thoth. The only person that writes a Book of Thoth is Thoth. I almost want to write a book called the Book of Crowley and just put a bunch of shit in it. And just make it really popular and advertise it and market it and just just write a book of Crowley. But no, the Book of Thoth, Crowley and Thoth, I don't think Crowley was a student of Thoth and all of his content and material because all magic stems from Thoth, the Hermetic sciences and whatnot, Hermetic arts. That infuriates me too. That makes me upset and it makes me mad. You don't write a Book of Thoth. They created a Thoth tarot deck, I think. You don't invoke other people's names, other gods' names in your content. Write your own books. That's what I think. But anyway, let's move on. So, the keys of Solomon the King is what I want to talk about today, okay? When it comes to magic and sorcery, I personally feel, and I feel the rest of you should too, that there needs to be some kind of morals, ethics, and values, some kind of codes to go along the sorcery. I don't believe, there's 8 billion humans on this planet, and you want everyone to kind of get their fair share of fun, and I don't like people who use magic against others and violate the will of the soul and violate people's rights and whatnot, or prey on people's ignorance. So I feel like when it comes to magic and sorcery, There should be a level. There should be some values and ethics installed, and that's why I keep coming back to the Keys of Solomon the King. Because, and I'm going to read it here to you. I'm going to read some of the, I'm going to read the introductory, the preliminary. What am I going to read here? I'm going to read the introduction to the Keys of Solomon the King. Not the preface by the author, but King Solomon himself, his introduction. So, let's... And now there's a lot of content about Keys of Solomon the King, too. There's a biblical... The Christian Bible talks a lot about him, but the Islamic texts, which they seem to know a lot about King Solomon as well. And I haven't yet even started really to get down with the Islamic text, because I know there's a lot of stuff in there. Because all these world religions all stem from the Abrahamic religions, all the Old Testament, basically. All three religions, all of them. So, let me show you this. Okay, so let's start. This is called The Keys of Solomon the King. Very old book. The first thing I want to do is tell you how this book came into being. Like, where we get this from. King Solomon was a pharaoh, by the way. He was a pharaoh, he was a pimp, and a sorcerer. He had a bunch of wives. He had like 1,000 wives, 300 wives and 700 concubines. This guy he was a pussy commander. King Solomon was a pussy commander. But he was a sorcerer, and he knows a lot of smart stuff we need to listen to. So, introduction to Keys of Solomon the King. This is King Solomon writing this. Let me show you how this book came into being. Therefore, O my son, Rehoboam, I command thee by the blessing which thou expectest from thy father, that thou shalt make an ivory casket, and therein place, keep, and hide this my key. And when I shall have passed away unto my fathers, I entreat thee to place the same in my sepulchre beside me, lest at another time it might fall into the hands of the wicked. And as Solomon commanded, so was it done. So basically, King Solomon was getting old. He was the wisest man ever, had a ton of gold, a shitload of gold. He was very economic. King David conquered the kingdom and started Israel, but King Solomon advanced it. He kind of, and he lived in a time of peace, because he made peace. Peace through pussy, I think. Right? I swear, it works. So, King Solomon, he was an old man. He was about to die. He'd learned a bunch of things, and he knew a lot. And he wanted to pass this knowledge down, and he calls this knowledge his keys. He's writing his keys. He calls them keys, okay? And he wants to pass it down to posterity. And he tells his son, Rehoboam, to make an ivory casket, and when his body is placed in this casket after he dies, he instructs his son, also put my keys in there that I'm going to write to you right now. So he's writing this book. King Solomon's writing this book of all of his magic and all the things he's learned. And he says, son, put this book into the casket with me when I die, okay? So it doesn't fall into the hands of the wicked, okay? And I continue. And when, therefore, men had waited for a long time, there came unto the sepulchre certain Babylonian philosophers. And when they had assembled, they at once took counsel together that a certain number of men should renew the sepulchre in his and Solomon's honor. And when the sepulchre was dug out and repaired, the ivory casket was discovered, and therein was the key of secrets, which they took with joyful mind. And when they had opened it, none among them could understand it, on account of the obscurity of the words and the occult arrangement, and the hidden character of the sense and knowledge, for they were not worthy to possess this treasure. So, it happens, King Solomon, his son, buries his father in this ivory casket, along with this book, which I'm holding here before me, and I'm reading to you right now. If that's not romantic, I don't know what is. I'm not kind of a nerd, though, but that's romantic. It's the history. I just love history. So, basically, finally, after who knows how long, hundreds of years maybe, Babylonian philosophers had discovered King Solomon's casket, along with these keys. But it says none of them, even these philosophers, these really smart Babylonian magi, could not understand this book because of the obscurity of the words and their occult arrangement. The words were encrypted. Okay? They were encrypted. Let's continue. Then therefore arose one among them more worthy than the others, both in the sight of the gods and by reason of his age, who was called Eoe, and said unto the others, unless we shall come and ask the interpretation from the Lord with tears and entreaties, we shall never arrive at the knowledge of it. So they're really trying to understand in this book. They know it's encrypted, but it's driving them nuts, and they got to figure it out, because they're magi. And magi just spend their life studying stuff, you know? I'm the same way. Therefore, when each of them had retired to his bed, Eoe, indeed falling upon his face on the earth, began to weep, and striking his breast, said, what have I deserved above the others, seeing that so many men can neither understand nor interpret this knowledge, even though there were no secret thing in nature which the Lord had hidden from me? Wherefore are these words so obscure? Wherefore am I so ignorant? And then on his bended knees, stretching his hands to heaven, he said, O God, creator of all, thou who knowest all things, who gavest so great wisdom unto Solomon the son of David the king, grant unto me, I beseech thee, O holy, omnipotent, and ineffable Father, to receive the virtue of that wisdom, so that I may become worthy by thine aid to attain unto the understanding of this key of secrets. So this guy's basically petitioning God. He's saying, please, I beg you. I mean, he's striking his chest. He's on his knees. He's stretching his hands to heaven. I mean, you got the imagery here, you know. This guy really wants to know what this book is about. And immediately there appeared unto me the angel of the Lord, saying, do thou remember if the secrets of Solomon appear hidden and obscure unto thee, that the Lord hath wished it, so that such wisdom may not fall into the hands of wicked men? Wherefore do thou promise unto me that thou art not willing that so great wisdom should ever come to any living creature, and that which thou revealest unto any, let them know that they must keep it unto themselves, otherwise the secrets are profaned and no effect can follow. Basically saying, hey man, God is speaking unto him saying, you know, you got to promise to me you're not going to give this to assholes. Like, I've hidden this for a reason. It's sacred. It's powerful. This is powerful stuff. Who are you? And Eoe answered, I promise unto thee that to none will I reveal them, save to the honor of the Lord, and with much discipline unto penitent, secret, and faithful persons. So he has to promise. Eoe's promising, saying, okay, man, I'm not going to give this to anyone unless it honors the Lord. Then answered the angel, go and read the key, and its words, which were obscure throughout, shall be made manifest unto thee. And after this the angel ascended into heaven in a flame of fire. Then Eoe was glad, and laboring with a clear mind, understood that which the angel of the Lord had said, and he saw that the key of Solomon was changed, so that it appeared quite clear unto him, plainly in all parts. And Eoe understood that this work might fall into the hands of the ignorant, and he said, I conjure him into whose hands this secret may come by the power of the Creator and his wisdom, that in all things he may desire, intend, and perform, that this treasure may come unto no unworthy person, nor may be manifest it unto any who is unwise, nor unto one who feareth not God. Because if he act otherwise, I pray God that he may never be worthy to attain unto the desired effect. And so he deposited the key, which Solomon preserved, into the ivory casket. And the words of the key are as follows, divided into 2 books and shown in order. So that's the history of this book, Keys of Solomon the King. Now look, you know, there's a lot of people studying magic and sorcery, but they're all taking content that's been written within the last, 20 years or something. There's a lot of books in Amazon and Barnes and Nobles and about magic and sorcery. It's all weak and watered down. I've looked at it. I've skimmed it. Look, if you want real magic and sorcery, dude, you got to go to the kings of magic and science. You've got to go to the gods of magic and science. Thoth was a god of magic and science. Odin was a god of magic and science. King Solomon was the wisest of all beings. He was a sorcerer. They're all the same person, by the way. Can't prove that. They're all the same spirit. reincarnated. I guarantee it. I promise you. Okay? So, what do you want to get your magic lessons from? From some weak, watered down 21st century, you know, guy, dude? Or do you want it from the gods of magic and science? Okay, I get mine. I don't read any magic books from the last 100 years. The only thing I focus on these keys of Solomon the King, Thoth, any hermetic arts, hermetic sciences. So this is the beginning. This is just the introduction, and I'll go into the other chapters later on. But this is it, man. Most people just don't get he was a sorcerer. They're just, he's just really wealthy. Most people think he was wise and wealthy. Well, he was a pussy commander. He kept peace in Israel for 40 years. He studied sorcery. He talked about, and I'll talk about it later, he talks about aliens. Yeah, this book talks about aliens, man. I swear to God. It talks about spirits of Saturn, spirits of Mars, spirits of Mercury. It talks about elementals and how we all have a genie and a spirit guide. This fucking dude's intense, man. This is the most intense magic book. No one even knows about it. Well, probably for a reason, I guess, right? We just read why. We don't want this falling into the hands of the ignorant, and that's exactly what's going on. That's why the ignorant never come across this book. For those who just dabble in... This book isn't for people who dabble in magic. This is for people who were dedicated. So, but along with this comes morals and ethics and values. What are you going to use it for? You're going to pain in the ass? Curse people? I've never cursed anyone. What a waste of time. Just ignore them. What kind of sorcerer are you? So anyway, that's the introduction to the Keys of Solomon the King out here in Chautauqua in Boulder, Colorado. I'll have more for you later.